you're quite good in undertaking the precepts. You're very fluent. Actually, the chanting and recitation is the easy part. The maintaining of the precepts, to keep the precepts in the daily life, that's actually the part that matters the most. Some people are experts in undertaking and reciting, but then when daily life a situation comes up, the mosquito, or ants, or cockroaches, how do you deal with cockroaches? Metta. You shoot your metta to him, or you spray the metta. Let him go to other places. You invite him out of your house. Here's the door. Show him the door. But yeah, we're part of nature, and it's part of life that we have to deal with those other species. Not just with other species. The most troublesome species is the human species, isn't it? But yeah, you cannot just use a spray. Maybe sometimes you can also invite them. Okay, it's time to move on. But yeah, it's part of life to deal with difficult situations sometimes and challenges. And this is also one of the reasons why the monks, once a year in SPS, we choose voluntarily, nobody tells us, to go into the jungle, to practice meditation in a very secluded place, far away from civilization. Like this year, just last month, the whole month of March, most of our monks were staying in Thailand, Kanchanaburi province, the place that is called Taodam, which is a place that is managed by the Ajahn Chah Sangha in Thailand. And as you probably know, Ajahn Siripanyo, you've heard his name before, he looks after that place, but it's not a big monastery in that sense. Mostly it's forest, there are a few kutis there, but normally in the dry season, when it doesn't rain, the monks will just stay out in the open. They will not stay in the kutis. Staying in the open means they have some Burmese helpers there sometimes. They will prepare some wooden platforms. You know, the Burmese are very good in making things out of bamboo. They can make everything. They can make a whole house or kuti out of bamboo, the floor. Then they use the leaves for thatching the roof. They can use any part of the tree to make incredible things. Of course, it won't last so long. Eventually, after a few years, it will get rotten and you have to replace it. But good enough for simple living in the jungle. So they have prepared the new, 16 monks from SPS are coming. So then they prepared these platforms that are a bit away from the ground. And the platform is about maybe 2 meters by 1 meter or 1.5, maybe like a corner here. And then it's on stilts. And then you have a split bamboo on which you can sit or lie down. So at least you're a bit protected. You're not directly on the ground. Of course, snakes and scorpions and other things, they can still come up if they want to. But most of them, they have no reason to come up. So you can avoid already 80% of potential dangers maybe. So just by having some distance from the ground. Early in my monk's life, when I was living in Burma, I didn't have these nice bamboo platforms. So I would just spread out a bamboo mat or a plastic mat, like we here also sometimes we use. You just roll it out and just lie down there and meditate there. So at that time, of course, you're much more visible to the other animals. And then, every now and then, any animal can come. Mostly it's harmless things, and maybe a mouse, a lizard. Lizards quite often. Especially if you don't move, If you meditate, you sit there very peacefully, they might not even recognize you as a human being. So especially a small animal like a cockroach or a lizard. So they just think you're another part of nature, and they crawl over you, or ants. It's very common. But it's okay, they're not harming. So, but in Thailand, quite nice, we have these platforms, so you can stay up there. And then probably you've seen these pictures that they have in Thailand, these umbrellas. But the umbrella, actually the main function in this case, is not to protect from rain. It's an umbrella, and you open it up, and on top goes a mosquito net. So over the top part of the umbrella, there's a round mosquito net, and then you can spread it out below. So you sit under an umbrella, but also it goes on the sides. So in this way, you can even lie down, and you're protected with a mosquito net. It's kind of standard equipment of a Thai forest monk. So this is also what we used. And since it doesn't rain a lot, sometimes it might rain a bit, it's okay. It's not like here in Taiping, Any day it can rain, and it can rain really heavily for a few hours. During this season in Thailand, it's very dry, very rare. For me, even during 2 weeks, we had, I think, only a single day of a little bit of spraying. All other days, no rain at all. Then later, the last 2 weeks, was a bit more regular, the rain, but also not too bad. So I said earlier, one of the reasons for why are going monks so far away into the jungle is to expose ourselves to these little challenges. Not to put our life in danger, that's not the purpose, of course, but to practice in a very simple environment, out in nature, being part of nature. Often I just feel like I'm just another one of these forest animals. We consider ourselves humans, right? But humans is also just another species of primates, like monkeys, like wild pigs, and all kind of other primates. And so yeah, we're doing our business, right? We're eating, drinking, defecating, urinating, producing children. I think the monks were not producing children, as far as I know. But typical primate behavior. So when you live out in the nature, together in nature, surrounded by nature, big trees, waterfall for bathing, so you feel the connectedness with the world. And also because it's such a pristine forest, such a protected environment, it's very deep in the jungle. There's no 7-Eleven nearby. And so we also have to take care of the nature there. Actually, nature takes care of itself very well already. Meaning to say, we just don't make it worse. So we are encouraged not to use dishwashing liquid or any chemicals that could go into the drinking water or into the stream. So even if you bathe, there's no showers in that sense, but you just go into the stream, the little waterfall, and you can bathe there, wash yourself down. But yeah, also we are not supposed to use any soaps or shampoo, because downstream people might even use that as drinking water. And you can drink the water there, it's okay, just coming from the stream. You can also boil it if you want to be really safe. So yeah, it's incredible, simple lifestyle. You may wonder how to do for a toilet. Do you think there's a flushing toilet there in the jungle? No. So they prepared already our places, and then some devotees, some kapias, they have been digging a hole there. So next to every meditation platform where a monk stays, there is then nearby a walking path for doing walking meditation, and also a pit toilet. They dig a hole, just maybe 3 foot, 4 foot deep, and then you can squat on top and do your business. And then just everything falls inside. And then to prevent maybe smell coming out, we can just take some leaves from the forest and throw them down so that it's covered up. In a very natural, simple way. But then how do you clean yourself? Well, you have to bring water from somewhere. So you have to take a bucket from the stream or from the river and bring it over to your place, and then you can rinse yourself with that. So very basic. But it's okay, for 1 month. Especially when you then later, now when we come back to Malaysia, to SPS, being again in a normal, civilized environment, then you can open the water tap and water is coming out. Wow, it's like a miracle, Amazing water, running water. You don't have to go anywhere and bring it with a bucket. Like back in the days, maybe in Malaysia also. Maybe not your generation anymore, but maybe your parents or your grandparents, maybe they still used to bring water from the well, or have to bring it from a river or a stream nearby. Nowadays, we're not used to that anymore. It's just so convenient. Everywhere there are water taps, right? Everywhere you look, even for the flowers, for the plants, you just open the water tap, water comes out. But once you don't have that for a while, wow, you really learn to appreciate the little comforts. Same for electricity. You want to have light, you turn on the light. It's a bit too warm, you turn on the fan. Or maybe in some places even aircon. If it's a bit too cold, some countries they will have heating systems in the house. So it's always we adjust the environment to our needs. But then it's also important to learn, what if I don't have that? Can I survive? Can I still be happy and peaceful even without all these comforts? We get so used to them that we become very dependent on them. What if something happens? What if electricity falls out? Nowadays, it doesn't happen much. Well, who knows, Wars are bubbling in the distance and coming up. What happens if gas price and oil price becomes very high? We cannot drive around anymore. Countries might have to rational their electricity usage. And I might say, okay, only from this hour to that hour you can use electricity, then the power grid DNP will go off. So far we don't have that situation. But yeah, the monks are well prepared now. But the spiritual part of that is also, okay, can I keep my mind peaceful? Or am I completely dependent on all these little comforts? Or can I still maintain, yes, it's a bit too hot, or yes, I have to walk and carry this or that, but is it really so bad? Can I still maintain wholesome mind, peaceful mind? So once you experience a little bit that hardship, you can really appreciate when you come back and we have more comforts. But it's also sometimes useful to deliberately, not always to take the easy way. Not always take immediately, it's a bit too warm, let me straight away turn on the fan. Sometimes you can challenge yourself. Let me hold on a little bit. I can turn it on later, but maybe let me endure for a little while. Put up with it. It can be with the temperature, it can be with smaller annoyances, maybe an ant crawling over your hand or a mosquito sitting there. Maybe I let it do a little bit. I wait for 10 seconds only. Even that, you train your muscle of endurance, of khanti. Because there are many life situations where you cannot escape, where situations will come up, where you cannot just turn on the fan and everything will be okay. So by training and deliberately enduring a little bit discomforts, it makes us stronger for the times when we cannot escape and we have to endure and put up with unpleasant situations. Unpleasant situations in the family, on the workplace, job environment, any environment. Even when you're by yourself, there will still be unpleasant situations. So learning how to not just grind the teeth and endure in that way, but also making peace with it. There are two ways of enduring. One is, yes, I'm not saying anything, I'm enduring, but it's not quite the right way yet. Yes, sure, it's okay, you're not scolding anyone and you're able to hold it in a little bit. But mentally, if the mind is still fighting against it, you're still struggling. The next level, or the higher level, also to make mentally peace with the unpleasant experience. Or like one of the teachers once said, peaceful coexistence with the unpleasant. And the emphasis is on peaceful, not just coexistence, but grinding in teeth, being angry, but peaceful. I cannot change this. It's beyond my sphere of influence. I might as well make peace with it. I cannot change it anyway. There are many situations in life, right, where something happens outside your sphere of influence and you have to deal with it. Maybe economy. You cannot just improve the economy by wishing or wishful thinking. Or politicians, or politics in general. I think in most countries, I don't know here in Malaysia, but people are never happy with their politicians. Who knows? So if you're not a politician, sure you can vote however you like, but your influence is also limited to some degree. Or you can start a petition and become a bit more active, but still there are limits. But then if you do something, okay, good. But if you're not doing anything, well then also no point in worrying and complaining all the time and getting annoyed, because if I'm not going to do anything anyway, I might as well make peace with it, because it's suffering, right? Whenever I struggle and fight against something that I cannot change, I'm the only one who suffers. Nobody benefits from that. Unless you really do something about something. You try to improve the situation, okay, that's fine. So learning with these smaller discomforts and challenges, and then trying to endure them and make peace with it, can be very useful. The Buddha says this principle even applies when people address us in unwelcome speech, when they speak to us maybe a bit unkindly, a bit rudely, or really even harsh in the worst case. There is also an instance, let me be patient. Let me practice patience. Because also people will not always say the things that you want. Sometimes maybe yes, but sometimes not. So these can also be moments of peaceful coexistence with the unpleasant. Sure, you can try to change people. Many have tried, right? You can try to change your spouse, your children. Is it easy? Everybody shaking their head. Not easy, right? Some people try their whole life to change their spouse. It's not working. If it has not been working the last 30 years, are you really trying to spend another 20 years the same thing? At some point, when is going to come the point where we realize, actually, probably not much is going to change anymore. This is how the person is. Maybe he will adjust a little bit in whatever direction. But that's the package that I have. And I better learn to live with it, rather than spending another 30 years fighting, running against the wall. So acceptance can be very helpful, but not just resignation. Peaceful acceptance, peaceful coexistence. True acceptance does not mean, well, it's a lost cause. Not that kind of acceptance. Okay, this is a weakness of this dear friend, of this dear fellow. Of course, everyone also have their strong sides, their good sides. And then say, okay, it's a mixed bag, like everyone. And then, okay, I allow that person to be the way he is, the way she is. It's actually a gift. It's a gift that you can give to any person, especially the difficult ones, by saying, okay, I don't appreciate that aspect. I might even try to protect myself in some situations, but I can handle that. Okay, I don't have to change you anymore. I have tried that already, didn't work. Okay, can I handle this? Yeah, it's okay. And then I make peace with it, internally making peace. Rather than spending another 20 years trying to change a person who does not want to be changed. Actually, even for ourselves. Sometimes also you may recognize certain qualities in yourself which you want to change, isn't it? Maybe hot temper sometimes, or it can be jealousy, whatever it is. And then you can even recognize, no, I don't want to be like this anymore. And then the next day, the same situation happens, and again you say the same thing, and act in the same way. And then again you say, oh no, I don't want to be like this. And then again, the same thing happens again and again. Isn't it interesting? Even though a person who wants to change, we want to change and improve, and still it's so difficult, isn't it? So then, if even for a person who wants to change, it's so difficult and almost takes a long time, for many cases, then how high is the chance for a person who does not even want to change? If you ask a person, you should be different from how you are, they don't even see the problem, really. How high is the chance that they will change? If even ourselves, if we want to change, we still find it very difficult. And again we fall back into old habits. Forget about making another person change. It's almost a lost cause from the beginning. Unless the real person also agrees, yes, I do see your point, I want to improve in this area, but also we have to give people time to improve and have realistic expectations. So patient endurance, acceptance, all those qualities we can develop. Of course, not only in the jungle, also in our day-to-day lifestyle, but also in the jungle is one of the major aspects of being there. Of course, also it's very nice. It's not only challenging living there. It's beautiful forest. You're surrounded by big trees, waterfalls, nature. It's very lovely. There's no concrete anywhere. You know what is also interesting? There are no straight lines Like, look at the pillar here, the pillar of this hall. It's very straight, like somebody took a ruler and make it straight. And then here, also straight, and there's square cushions. Go out in nature and try to find straight lines. Almost nowhere you will find that. This 100% exact straight lines. Everything has curves, a bit edgy and a bit adaptive, however nature has formed it. It's very interesting when you get used to that and then you come back into a city, for example, where everything is, all houses especially, duck, 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 duck. Everything is straight. Or a highway. Nature is always a bit round, a bit curvy, edgy, irregular. It's quite beautiful, the diversity that nature has produced. And of course also you're not going to be very busy, because what can you do all day? There's no cell signal. It's so far in the jungle where we have been. Even if you bring out your phone, okay, let me check the news or anything. What's going on? Nothing. There's no cell towers nearby. There is a way, you have to go up a little mountain, a little hill, and from there you can get a very weak signal from the next cell tower far away. So it's so secluded. So how are you going to spend the whole day? Meditate, of course. Practice the Dhamma. Samatha, Vipassana, mindfulness, loving kindness. Speaking of loving kindness, this is one of the duties that the Buddha says for a forest-dwelling monk, to frequently radiate loving kindness to the snakes, serpents, lizards, rats, all kinds of animals. Animals who have 4 foot, 4 legs, also to the 2-legged animals, also to those who have no any legs, like snakes. So basically to all animals, all beings, you're trying to radiate loving kindness. On the one side, of course, good for your own practice, but also as a form of self-protection. Because maybe you've noticed some animals, maybe even many animals, they can sense. They have almost like a sixth sense. They can pick up on the good or not so good quality of a person. If a person is hostile, angry, even cats or dogs, I think, they can feel that sometimes. And they will keep their safe distance around certain people who are maybe have harmed cats or dogs in the past or seem to be in a bad mood. They can pick up on that very easily. Or also the opposite. A group of people comes and one of them is really a dog lover. Somehow the dogs figured it out within a few seconds. And they will go to that one guy or that one lady who really loves dogs. So the temperament, the mood, animals can pick up on that. So when you do loving kindness meditation, or you spread loving kindness to all beings, it makes them feel comfortable, makes them feel safe, and they like the person. They have no reason to harm you. So that's why the Buddha says, when you go to the forest, it's your duty to frequently survey and pervade all directions with loving kindness. Basically as your life insurance. It's an ancient form of life insurance. How much does it cost? What's the annual or the monthly rate you have to pay? Free of charge, right? Also no negative side effects. You get some positive side effects. On top of the loving kindness, you also get some samadhi, composure, some mindfulness. So it's a good practice. One day, a few weeks ago, in the jungle, I was doing walking meditation. I was walking up and down the path. And at that time, at first I was just paying attention to the footsteps. Then I was breaking it down to very small units every step. So lifting, raising, pushing forward, dropping, placing, then the next one, very slowly. And then later I was also reflecting on the impermanent nature of the body, of the mind, non-self nature. And also, at the very beginning, I also did a little bit of loving kindness meditation, just to be on the safe side. So in this way, I was doing my walking meditation up and down for quite a while. At some point, I see the corner of my eye, some movement. Normally, there's nothing there. So it's a walking path, and then on the left side, oh, what's that? So I slowly look over. Two bears were coming in my direction. Quite grown one. A mother with her small one. Mother bear, maybe the size of the width of a car almost. So 3 foot, 4 foot, a grown up mother bear together with a small cub. And I know mothers can be quite aggressive when they're together, especially with their small babies, with the cub, because they want to protect them. So I looked over, wow, 2 bears. I stopped. I look over. They also stopped. They were coming my direction. I was walking on the walking path, but it's in their direction. So everyone stopped and looking, staring at each other. A bit like in a Wild West movie, you know, where there's a duel and everybody's standing in each other's eyes. But as I said, I have done a lot of walking meditation just beforehand and loving kindness. I was completely calm. There was no worry, no fear, because I felt so safe, because all the practice I've done just before that. So I found it more almost interesting. And then I looked over and saw, oh, 2 bears. Interesting. And then also the metta was still there from before. Somehow it seems almost like a sense of connection. A connection in terms of, oh, I recognize them. Oh yeah, you're 2 forest animals. Maybe they recognize me as another forest animal. And then is the danger? They look at me, I look at them. Seems not. And then a few seconds go by, just looking at each other, and then they slowly make a turn around and go back into the forest, disappear behind the bushes. As I said, actually I didn't feel much fear because I was in such a meditative mode. But afterwards, only when I thought about it, I thought, oh, okay, that could be quite dangerous actually. Because, yeah, bears have attacked people before, especially when they have their small cubs around. So you never know what happens. But yeah, it went quite okay. And so they disappeared in the bushes, but I didn't hear them run away also. So they were still around. I thought, oh, maybe they come back a second time. Let me quickly get back to my platform. I told you earlier I have my platform just around the corner. I went back just a few steps to get my phone. Just in case they come back a second time, I can film them. So I got my phone, went back to the same spot where I stood earlier. I waited for 20 seconds, and they came a second time. Again, they came out from the bushes. But this time they didn't go straight towards me, but they passed the path and walked to the other side. And then indeed they disappeared. But this time I had them on video. So I made this short little clip where the mother and the small one were walking past, and then you can see it's actually quite sizable. And then they disappear in the forest. And they disappeared as silent as they came. I thought they must still be around, because they went into the forest, and usually even small animals, like a lizard or a mouse, you can hear them in the leaves. And the twigs are cracking, the leaves are rustling. These 2 bears, they kind of disappeared in the forest. I didn't hear a single sound. And it was not far away. It's like from me to you, maybe that distance. It was quite close. And then they went into the forest, not to be seen anymore. I had to double check, are they still there? I went down a little bit, but yeah, they're gone. Amazing. Big animals, how can they walk so silently? Afterwards, I also thought, next time if this happens again, what should I do? Maybe I better run away. But then I realized bears can run faster than us humans. There is no running away. Then I thought, okay, if I cannot run away, maybe I should climb up a tree. There's no climbing a tree. They can climb pretty well. Sometimes there is a bee nest on some of the trees, and the bears like to climb up the tree and take the honey from the bee nest. And so you cannot climb away also. But then I thought my third option, because there's a stream down the hill, I could just run down to the stream and go into the water. No, the bears can swim better than me. So you cannot run away, you cannot climb, you cannot fly, right? And they are better swimmers. So you might as well stay put where you are and just gracefully. And the only protection you really have at that time is your loving kindness, your compassion, the good energy that you cultivate. That can save you, maybe, and not be a danger to the bear, of course. And this is very much how it felt to me also. Just looking there, I was not hostile to them. They had no reason to be hostile to me. And then they moved on, they did their own thing. But it was a very nice little encounter of recognition. Oh, you're also here in the forest. You're welcome. How nice. Okay, feel free to move on, do what you want, Didn't interfere with their life. So that was a nice little memory for me to stay back. For me, already the third time I stay in this particular forest. People have told me before, there are leopards or there are animals. No more tigers, but there are elephants sometimes. Bears have been seen before, wildcats. But I had never seen anything until that point. So yeah, it was a nice little episode. But it can also go the other way. A friend of mine, he stayed in SPS a few years ago during COVID times. Nanda from the Czech Republic. He stayed here for almost 2 years. And then after 2 years in SPS, he went to Sri Lanka. And this time around, he's staying in a forest, also quite deep in the forest, in the jungle, in the south of Sri Lanka. And also practicing meditation very diligently. Very simple living conditions, just staying in a cave. And the cave also, you can protect a little bit. You can close the entrance with some wooden locks. And there's some holes in they made in front a bit of a wall. And then they closed off the windows with just some planks of wood, so just that bigger animals cannot go in. But there are still big gaps, like small animals can easily walk inside. But very simple living conditions, no electricity, just very basic. But you really enjoyed that simple lifestyle. But that area is also known to have bears, leopards, elephants, so you have to be careful. And he even told me he had seen before leopard close to his place. Normally leopards don't do anything, but it's still good to be careful. And also bears he had seen. Last time when I had a conversation with him, maybe 2 months ago, we were sending WhatsApp messages. And because also it's so far away, he has to go to a certain spot to get a cell signal. So at his cave he doesn't have. So at the end of our conversation he says, okay, I'm going back now to the land of bears and leopards. Would you want to stay at such a place? I'm also not so sure. That place has really many of those. And a week ago, roughly, I got a message from another monk friend. There was actually an accident in that area where this monk stayed. And actually a leopard attacked a monk. That monk, our friend from SBS, was attacked and killed by that leopard. It happened last week. So when Nanda unfortunately passed away, probably straight away. I don't know how long he had to struggle with that, but it seems the leopard was sneaking into his cave through those window holes, somehow broke through the wooden thing, jumped inside, and killed him right there. They found him only the next time when he didn't come on arms round. There were 2 other monks, not living close, but about 800 meters away, also in their own caves. And then he didn't come out in the morning for arms round. Then they called him, also no response. Then somebody went to his cave and then see him lie there on the floor. You can see already blood all around. It also turns out the leopard then has eaten all his inner body parts. All the organs were gone, The whole stomach empty, the whole front part all empty. Yeah, quite a tragedy. And so I had to carry away the body. The police came, inspected the scene, but not much to be done. And so quite a tragedy. So a good friend of us, many of our monks, we have been practicing together with him, also a very helpful person. He has been supporting SBS even when he was not here. computer specialist before he became a monk, IT guy. So sometimes when SBS has any IT issues in the past, he would remotely fix it when he has some time. So very helpful, very smart guy, and also very dedicated to his Dhamma practice. So we also wish him, of course, all the best, a good rebirth. But he was also a good practitioner, so we don't have to worry for him in terms of rebirth. But yeah, only after that happened, now when I think back at my own incident with the bear, now I think, oh wow, it could have gone quite differently, you know. I mean, sure, nothing happened when these two bears came, but from stories like that, they do happen, and we definitely should be careful when we go to those places and not deliberately put ourselves in too much danger, because our life is valuable and important, not just for the monks, of course, all our lives. And then sometimes people think, oh, isn't it very dangerous if you live in a forest like that? Yes and no. Because how often does that really happen? I mean, sure, things can happen. But then also, okay, I have now maybe one friend of all my monk friends who has been attacked by an animal and died. But then even for you, if you live your normal life, be in the traffic, do you have a friend or a family member who had an accident in traffic? Have you ever heard of that in your close circle? Yes, right? So, and still we are using the cars and partaking in the traffic, or people have a motorbike accident. Happens almost every day. So it's actually not so special. It's just that case sounds very special because nowadays these kind of attacks, leopards, elephants, don't happen on a daily basis. So these are outstanding. But many people die every day, even in Malaysia, quite regularly, in motorbike accidents, car accidents. And we hear of that every now and then in our family, in our closer circle of friends even. So is it really more dangerous to live out there? I don't think so. Every now and then, of course, things can happen. It's part of life. There's no security in life. And that's also the reason why we practice. Samsara is suffering. There's no safety in samsara. Yes, you can have a life insurance if you want, but actually the life insurance also will not save your life, right? We call it life insurance, but life insurance is not going to save your life. It's if you survive, then you can get the benefit from the life insurance. And if you don't survive, then maybe your children or grandchildren can get some benefit from your life or death insurance. Or if your house burns down, okay, can get some remuneration afterwards, but then it cannot save your life. So of course we can be mindful, we can be careful, that is helpful if you want to have a long life. We can eat healthy, we can practice the Dhamma, we can exercise. All these things can contribute to a long life. But then, you know, if past karma catches up with us, then that's the end of it. Or sometimes just one moment of carelessness. You can stumble over something, you can fall down a little cliff, and then that's it. Or, like in this case, a leopard may come around the corner and eat you. And of course it's a tragedy, but on the other hand, he was well aware of that danger. He has seen leopards, bears in that area before. But then sometimes I think of his mother, who had to be informed, of course, of that accident. And you can imagine how the mother must be feeling, hearing about that accident. I just hope she never sees the pictures. I have also received some pictures. Yeah, they don't look pretty. So yeah, it's probably not necessary for the mother to see those pictures. But for us monks, we sometimes can use those pictures as reminders on our own mortality, about impermanence, and also about the body's nature of being subject to death. And also sometimes when you see a person like after death, a corpse, or at an autopsy, where you can see the organs from inside, yeah, you can see there's no beauty anywhere in the body. As they say, beauty is only skin deep. You remove the skin, you think you find anything beautiful inside a person? Not really. So sometimes monks use these pictures for their Dhamma practice to remind themselves about death, mortality, impermanence, the repulsive nature of the body. So this way it can be fuel for wholesome Dhamma practice. But yeah, it's not something that I think is good for the mother to see. So yeah, things happen, but we do, of course, wish and share merit, of course, also with him on a regular basis. And I'm not too worried about his future destiny. He was a good Dhamma practitioner, and we wish him farewell and let him move on. And then wherever he goes next, he will continue with his Dhamma practice.